Hello guys, what is going on? Son of Chelsea back here again for another edition of Let's Talk Chelsea. Hope you're all doing well and keeping safe on this Thursday. Lots of transfer talk today. The big targets, Haaland and Hakimi, of course, more updates coming about them, more rumours and speculation. But also Jude Bellingham being linked kind of to the Haaland interest by Chelsea, being a long-standing target as well from Borussia Dortmund. But as well, a sad outgoing Fikayo Tomori, his move to AC Milan, all but done, going to be announced very soon. Probably by the time you're watching this, it would have been confirmed by both Chelsea and AC Milan. But we'll get into that move. And is it a mistake letting Tomori go? That's a big question, I think, that has been asked in recent months. So now it's going to be permanent. We'll reflect on some of that as well in today's episode. But before we do, I want to ask you guys, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss any of the uploads, any of the Let's Talk Chelsea's where we're covering daily news around Chelsea FC. Also got a big collab with Nini FC coming. I know a lot of you guys, of course, love Nini FC and watch his content. It's a big discussion. It's going to be sort of a 3 or 4 part discussion where we delve into, of course, a lot of the relevant news, transfer targets, Hakimi, Haaland, Hakim Ziyech's future at Chelsea and some other players too. We also, of course, reflect on the Champions League triumph. So that will be coming out on the channel in the coming days. So make sure you don't miss that by subscribing, hitting that notification bell, and also hit the like button if you're enjoying the content because it helps out the channel as well. Firstly, Haaland giving this interview, a rare interview. It's kind of a massive interview for him as a player. It wasn't a Telegraph exclusive interview, but they sort of reported all of the quotes and the key quotes that came out of the interview. As you can see here, the headline, Erling Haaland interview, my debt to Leeds, meditation and why I wake up to the Champions League anthem. As expected, it's very intriguing, you know, a player at this level with this amount of hype around him, with the potential, well, even if it's not this summer, next summer, he's probably going to be making a massive move that will be the biggest of the transfer window. In particular this summer, if it was to happen, it would be like over 100 million. So he is the talk of European football at the moment, the talk of world football in terms of a striker and a goal scorer. You know, him, Mbappe, Joao Felix, you know, some of these big sort of young players that are really coming to the fore at the moment. And I think that Erling Haaland, definitely what you get from this interview is not only, I think, his sense of intensity and sort of dedication, but just sort of a more humble side to, you know, his early beginnings and his career. So definitely go and read the interview because it's quite revealing. And even if Chelsea don't sign him, I think it's just interesting to read the reviews of players of this sort of level, given the intensity and given the fact we speak about them in terms of their goals and numbers and all that good stuff. It's really revealing about the type of character Haaland is. I think the biggest thing that came out of the interview for me is it was given in the headline was him waking up to the Champions League anthem, and a big part of his sort of motivation is winning the Champions League, playing in the Champions League, scoring big goals in European football's elite competition. It says in the interview, in fact, Haaland agrees that playing in the Champions League became an obsession for him early in his career. His stats in the Champions League are just ridiculous. Obviously, Haaland has scored 20 goals in his first 14 Champions League games, including a hat-trick on his debut. That is more than Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo and Kylian Mbappe achieved. Combined, it is the best start in the competition's history, a goal every 56 minutes. Jason Burt, a report from the Telegraph, gives his sort of feelings on Chelsea's interest this summer and the potential of a deal. Here's what he had to say. He says Chelsea are among the clubs pushing hard to negotiate a deal for this transfer window, or more likely 12 months later once he has completed 2 full seasons at Borussia Dortmund. But Chelsea's tactics is one that could eventually succeed if they remain patient, and not least because they have a good relationship with Dortmund following the signing of Christian Pulisic, who they agreed a deal for in January 2019 before he joined the following summer. There have been some reports that potentially Chelsea could do a sort of deal where we sign Erling Haaland, but we don't actually get him this season. We get him next summer, potentially. That could happen. I think for the sort of money Chelsea would pay this summer, I don't think that would happen. I think if Chelsea were going to lay down like 150 million, I think they'd obviously want him this summer. So I think that's unlikely. But in terms of it being patient, you could see this moving another 12 months. But there is a risk to that, you know, a bit like the Kai Havertz deal. You know, if we allow another 12 months to pass, potentially a Barcelona with new investment comes in, someone else comes in who needs him or really wants him, and that deal becomes more complicated when Chelsea at the moment feel like the only club seriously going in for him this summer. But Nazar Cancelo for Goal yesterday wrote this piece in relation to Chelsea's pursuit of Erling Haaland and how it relates to Jude Bellingham being a long-term target for Chelsea. Cancelo reports that Chelsea are hoping that their efforts in building relationships relating to Haaland can ultimately allow them to win the longer-term race for wonder kid Bellingham. The 17-year-old midfielder has had interest from Chelsea since his early teens, and that has never gone away. The Blues transfer bosses want to be at the front of the queue for when he leaves Germany Germany, although he is soon expected to extend his deal at Dortmund by 2 years until 2025. Bellingham is an interesting player, an exciting player. Of course, he's at the Euros of England at the moment, had a really good season for Borussia Dortmund. I'm excited to see how Rice and Bellingham could do as a double six or just a midfield pairing, a pivot, in a 4-2-3-1 at the moment. We saw how Phillips and Rice did at the Euros for England against Croatia. Obviously I'm saying Rice and Bellingham because they could potentially be Chelsea players in the future, and that could be a relationship we see in the future. Laying that groundwork for a potential deal further down the line. Chelsea thinking about their future in central midfield, which is good. I do think at some point, hopefully this summer, we're going to have to refresh it and bring new legs in. So Bellingham could be a player to look out for, as he is a rising star in European football. But let's move over to Achraf Hakimi, another big target. It's Haaland, Hakimi at the moment. The DM or centre-back links, there's not much going on at the moment in terms of concrete news. Hakimi has sort of come out of the blue, and there's more talks about Chelsea sort of being closer to signing Achraf Hakimi in front of PSG. And a report here, Daniel Longo, reports that Inter Milan prefer Marcos Alonso as part of the deal for Achraf Hakimi. Chelsea's negotiations with Inter are going well. Also from Sky Italy here, Chelsea apparently have increased their offer for Hakimi to 60 million euros plus Emerson or Marcos Alonso, while PSG bid 65 million euros in cash. That sort of happened from the start, didn't it? We heard about Christensen, we heard about Emerson. I think one of Emerson or Alonso would be brilliant moves for Chelsea. I think Emerson, of course, is the more likely one to leave this summer because Tuchel has shown he will bring Marcos Alonso back in. You think Marcos Alonso scored a massive goal for Chelsea against Man City. If you're still sticking with the 3-back system with wing backs, Alonso, despite not being as good as Ben Chilwell should always be first choice because he's just been excellent. He really has. But Marcos Alonso is an experienced player with the wages he's on to. This is something I do want to bring up rather than just going over old ground with Hakimi and whether the deal is going to happen or not. Chelsea need to sell players this summer, and it's a constant sort of problem we have where you're seeing even players like Michy Batshuayi, seemingly being overvalued by Marina at the moment, and that's becoming a struggle to sell them because we may just have a similar case once again, bloated squad, players that probably should be leaving. But then you do have the issue this summer, Chelsea may have the funds to spend big, but a lot of clubs don't. So someone like Marcos Alonso, the wages he currently has at Chelsea, despite being an older player, despite not being a guaranteed first starter, who else is going to pay that money or pay better than that money? Not many teams. So it's whether a team could be there to pay that money. But I think Marcos Alonso going to Inter Milan, of course Conte isn't there anymore, but that could be a good move, or Emerson. So we'll have to see if a player could be traded. I think that'd be a perfect situation actually. You lose a wing back, you bring one in the squad, adds more balance and an upgrade really on a younger player. So Hakimi, we'll see how this progresses. I'm going to have a discussion with Nini FC about Achraf Hakimi and sort of delving into the pros and cons of this potential deal, so please stay tuned for that. But let's look at Fikayo Tomori. Tomori to Milan is absolutely done. It's going to happen. It's going to be announced very soon. Fabrizio Romano, who's been on top of this for months now. Fikayo Tomori joins AC Milan on a permanent deal, confirmed 28.5 million euros to Chelsea as a final fee. The clause has been triggered. Just before recording this, Matt Law tweeting, AC Milan will confirm the permanent signing of Fikayo Tomori from Chelsea this afternoon. 25 million rising to 30 million. It's a shame, it is. Tomori is a really good young defender. I think he's going to have a great career, and I can't help but get away from the feeling that this could be a massive mistake by Chelsea once again. I think it's very easy with Chelsea, as it always is, to look solely at what's going on right now, which is amazing. With Tuchel at Chelsea, we've just won the Champions League, so a lot of people will be very inclined to think, and I'd understand it, to go, what's the problem of losing a defender when you've got Christensen in the best form of his Chelsea career, Antonio Rudiger in the best form of his Chelsea career. We've got Mark Guehi potentially returning and getting a chance, a young defender too, who's had brilliant seasons, who could get that breakthrough with Thomas Tuchel. I just think with Tomori, it's all with Chelsea's business. I think that the issue is with Tomori, losing him at this stage is if he goes on to have a great career. I don't want to be sat here in 2 or 3 years with Chelsea having a problem with their centre-backs. If we solve it, no problem. It's like the Tariq Lamptey situation with Reece James, and kind of this also ties into Hakimi, is that you could understand losing Tariq Lamptey because you've got Reece James there, and Reece James has proved to be an excellent player since. So there's no, even though Tariq Lamptey, who could be moving to Tottenham this summer, sure, it's a shame to see any good young player at Chelsea go somewhere else. But if you've got better players in front of them, I don't think that's really an issue. If you haven't, or at least you haven't got players of say a similar age, or at least aren't going to be at your club for years, and you've got issues in that area, then that's a cause for concern. So I think Tomori, what he could go towards, I know people have been sort of annoyed by what happened with him at Chelsea, being sort of isolated with Frank Lampard. I guess we'll never know unless either of them speak about what happened. There is definitely more than meets the eye there in terms of behind the scenes, the way Lampard was so trusting of Tomori in his opening months of 1920, and he literally just was phased out of the team with not a lot of good reason, in my opinion, based on Tomori's performances. I've always been impressed by him at Chelsea. I really have. Like a lot of the youngsters, suited himself so well in the team, put in some really shrewd performances. I felt like him and Kurt Zouma had some really good performances together, but unfortunately we're never going to see that now. He's going to be going to AC Milan, which is brilliant for his career. I think it's brilliant for English football. We see more young English talent going abroad and getting more football elsewhere, because I just think it will improve the England team as well, and I think Tomori is going to be a big part of the England team in the coming years, despite the fact he's not at Euro 2020 this summer. But it's a shame, it really is. I think, without Lampard and Morris, I don't think Tomori probably wouldn't have got his breakthrough at Chelsea, in all truth. I think if you remember actually that summer, if you go back, it's easy to forget now, David Luiz moving to Arsenal, wasn't it, that summer, and of course keeping Fikayo Tomori. There was rumours all through the summer that Tomori could have gone out on loan. If we didn't have Lampard and it was a different coach, didn't really believe that much in giving young players a chance and didn't really know Tomori that well, there's a likelihood Tomori would have never got a breakthrough at Chelsea to begin with. So I want to add that to the debate as well. But it's a shame. Do you think this is a big mistake? Do you think this is going to be something Chelsea regret? Is this going to be another young player that got away too soon? And potentially, even though we're in a decent position with our defence at the moment, could Tomori have been used in the current first team squad a lot more? Let me know your opinions on this situation in the comments below. But that is it for this edition of Let's Talk Chelsea. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch it. If you did enjoy it, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Follow me on Twitter at SonOfChelsea. Have a great day, and I'll see you again.